Welcome to another Tuesday of teaching. This is Learn with Joes, an Academy of Knowledge Economy. And my name is Josephine. I'm your digital educator. I say digital professor for Learn with Joes. Tuesday like this, I teach a core course in the area of my specialization, philosophy of religion and theology. On Fridays, I discuss or explore issues that are germane to lessons of life that are very important for the totality of the family or for individuals, for growth, for success, for self-awareness. That's what I do on Fridays. I call it Friday Tonic. Today, I'm ending on arguments for God's existence. I've said a lot on it. I've analyzed, synthesized, and taught on different arguments: ontological, cosmological, teleological, and other, modern, and other types of arguments. So today is the part 2 of the other types of arguments for God's existence. And by God's grace, next Tuesday is going to be July. Wow. We are starting the 7th month. To God be the glory. And I'm going to start on systematic theology. Next Tuesday, I will start with the introduction and defining what is systematic theology and why is systematic theology so important. I love it, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So let's join Learn with Joes. I welcome you back. It's been an interesting and exciting teaching on arguments for God's existence. And you know, all these arguments, it depends on which divide you are. Are you a theist, or are you an atheist? Or are you a naturalist? Or you are just not there anymore. You don't know what to believe. And that's where we have various arguments for God's existence. So I'll be saying bye-bye to these arguments. But before I say bye-bye, let's explore together the last of the arguments, the other types of the arguments. A rejoinder by theists is that survival alone is not necessarily a true beliefs. It could, in principle, be false beliefs that enhance survival. In fact, some atheists think that believing in God has been crucial to people's survival, though the belief is radically false, according to atheists. Martin and Mackey, among others, object to the epistemic teleological argument. Platzinger, Richard Krill, and Richard Taylor defend it. Two recent developments in teleological argumentation have involved the intelligent design hypothesis and fine-tuning arguments. The first is an argument that there are other biological complexity emerging in evolution that are highly unlikely if accounted for by random mutation and natural selection or any other means in the absence of purposive intentional force. Bay 2007. Debate on intelligent design, which is ID, proposal, includes questions of whether it is properly scientific about the biochemistry involved, and whether if the ID hypothesis is superior to non-ID accounts. The ID hypothesis can inform us about the nature of the intelligent designing forces. Why the ID hypothesis has been defended as an allegedly scientific account, it is not based on an appeal to Genesis, as creationism is. Many scientists argue that ID is not a scientific theory because it is neither testable nor falsifiable. Some also argue that ID goes beyond the available evidence and that it systematically underestimates the ability of non-intelligent natural causes, plus chance, to account for the relevant biological complexity. Critics like Kenneth Miller contend that BE does not take into sufficient account the adaptive value of very minor changes in evolution, such as the sensitivity to light found in algae and bacteria, that gradually lead to complex organs, such as the eye, according to Miller in 1999. Fine-tuning arguments contend that the existence of our cosmos, with its suns, planets, life, would not have come about or continued in existence without the constancy of multiple factors. Even minor changes to the nuclear weak force would not have allowed for stars, nor would stars have endured if the ratio of electromagnetism to gravity had been different. John Leslie observes, alterations by less than 1 part in a billion to the expansion speed early in the Big Bang will have led to runaway expansion, everything quickly becoming so dilute that no stars will have been formed, or else to gravitational collapse under a second, according to Leslie, 2007, page 76. Robbie Collins and others have also argued that theism better accounts for the fine-tuning than naturalism. See Collins, 2003. For criticism of the argument, see Craig and Smith, 1993. A more sustained objection against virtually all versions of the teleological argument takes issue with the assumption that the cosmos is good, or that it is the sort of thing that will be brought about by an intelligent, completely benevolent being. This leads us directly to the next central concern of the philosophy of God, the analogical teleological argument by William Paley. William Paley, who was born in 1743 but died in 1805, knows that one will have a different reaction to finding a watch than to finding a stone. On finding a watch, one will notice intricate means and structure, which suggests it had an intelligent maker. You understand? Paley then notes that human and animal eyes also have means ends, wondering, which indicates that nature too had an intelligent creator, that we have not seen watches or eyes made, that sometimes they do not work, that we do not know the functions of all their parts, or even that we can invoke laws. Governing them does not mitigate the force of the argument. Paley also notes that as we will reject mere natural explanations for the watch, so too should we reject mere natural explanations for organs like eyes. Granted, there are defects in nature, But these are due to causes of which we are ignorant, not to God's lack of knowledge. Then the anthropic teleological argument by Robin Collins notes that there are a significant number of the fine-tuning cosmic conditions, each of which is highly unlikely in and of itself, yet all of which are necessary for there to be conscious knowing beings like ourselves. He also notes the beauty and elegance of the natural laws and the intelligibility and discoverability of the structure of the universe. In attempting to account for these features, one may appeal to either a theistic or a naturalistic explanation. Collins introduces what he calls the likelihood principle of confirmation, according to which observations are more probable under that hypothesis. Collins argues that since fine-tuning is much more probable under theism than the evidence from fine-tuning supports. Hello, let me repeat that for us to understand. Collins introduces what he calls likelihood principle of confirmation, according to which observations are more probable under the hypothesis. Collins argues that since fine-tuning is much more probable under theism than under the naturalistic single universe hypothesis, the principle implies that the evidence from fine-tuning supports a theistic rather than a naturalistic account of the origin of the universe. Even on the many universes model, we show that it is likely significant number of habitable universes coexist. The existence of God provides a more probable explanation. Not only are the many universes models highly speculative, but even if such are possible, what generates the many universes has to be well designed to produce universes capable of abhorring life. Again, theism provides a better explanation of the apparent design found in the beauty and elegance of the resulting universes than atheism does. We support the existence of God. The argument from fine-tuning, beauty, and discoverability is not intended to prove God's existence or even show that God's existence is likely. Rather, it is intended to show that these features of the universe count as substantial evidence for God's existence in the sense of making it considerably more plausible than naturalism. C.S. Lewis, the moral argument for God's existence from him, argues that we all know the difference between right and wrong, and accordingly, acknowledge that there is an objective moral law, which is a law of human nature. We all are called to obey it, though we are not really successful in keeping it. That's why we have courts and all those things. We have unique access to ourselves. And when we look within ourselves, we not only see that there's a law of human nature, but that it indicates that someone or something wants and commands us to behave in a certain way. That's why we even have conscience that prompts you. This somebody or something which urges us to do right and make us uncomfortable when we do wrong is best understood in terms of a power who directs the universe. The Reformed objection to natural theology by Alvin Plantinga. In his essay, Alvin Plantinga set out the essentials of an approach to religious knowledge that has become to be known as Reformed epistemology. Plantinga knows that the tradition of natural theology, which seeks to prove God's existence on the basis of premises that are obvious to any thinking person, has often met with resistance in the Reformed or Calvinistic branch of Christianity. Not only have the Reformed Christians felt that the arguments of natural theology are insufficient as a basis for religious belief, but they have considered the whole idea of basing belief on arguments to be misguided. This is not to say, however, that their belief in God is irrational. On the contrary, Reformed Christians have typically held that belief in God is a properly basic belief, one that is not held on the basis of any other belief and does not need to be justified in terms of other beliefs or arguments. You don't need to justify it. God exists and he exists. The Reformed objection to natural theology, unformed and inchoate as it is, may be seen as a rejection of classical foundationalism. So as the Reformed thinker says things being self-evident or incorrigible or evident to the senses is not a necessary condition of proper basicality. He goes on to add that believing God is properly basic. It's not thereby committed, even in the absence of a general criterion or proper basicality, to suppose that just any or nearly any belief in the great pumpkin, for example, is probably basic. I'm going to end it here. I'm a theist. I subscribe to theism. I believe in God and I believe in God's existence. Either with backing or basicality is basic for me. Because when I look around nature, when I look around the universe and everything, there is no other evidence for me but to believe that God truly exists. My first degree is in biochemistry. Before I ventured into theology with my master's degree in biblical studies and then my doctorate degree in philosophy of religion and theology. And throughout, either from my scientific background to my theological background as a theologian, I have enough evidence to prove for me that God exists. Share your thoughts on the existence of God in my description link, comment section, or send me an email. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. I might share your thoughts with others. But I, Josephine, truly believe in the existence of God. I thank you for following this teaching from the beginning to the end. I end it today. Next Tuesday, by God's grace, I'm going to start teaching on systematic theology. Don't forget, if you have not subscribed, click that subscribe button, share with others, tell others about channel. I love you all. And God loves you more.